All right, so hi everyone. Welcome to our class today. Yeah, so talking about JavaScript. This is the second of series of about 3 classes you are going to have. We've had the first class where we talked about JavaScript, and just to remind us, JavaScript is actually a programming language, and is a language of the web, right? Basically, JavaScript was originally written for, web development. However, JavaScript has now been used for a whole lot of things, right? Smartwatches, we have Internet of Things used for um, all of that programming, even in, machine learning and a whole lot, right? So JavaScript is gaining a whole lot of popularity beyond web development. And what makes this possible is the fact that there is what we call Node.js. So Node.js is a runtime environment for JavaScript, right? It actually, so I had said it in the last class, it's a runtime environment for JavaScript. So it provides that environment for JavaScript to run, right? It provides the environment, compiler is embedded in Node.js, and from there, you're able to execute JavaScript code, right? So that is what enables JavaScript to run on everywhere it is running currently, right? Because of Node.js. So like now, I can run JavaScript on my VS Code, right? Without running it on the my browser, simply because I have Node.js installed on my device or my machine. So anywhere Node.js is found, right, then JavaScript can actually be written and actually run there. It can actually be executed, right? And yeah, so I also tried to talk about the um, connection between HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML, of course, gives the structure of the web page. CSS brings styling, it gives all the design and all of that, makes your website look nice, while JavaScript brings in interactivity and equally brings in that kind of dynamism into your website, right? You can do a whole lot of things with JavaScript. So the JavaScript for the for your HTML is actually called DOM JavaScript. DOM, right? So let me I'm gonna start on a fresh note, but okay, so I think I should just go ahead to start on a fresh note. So let's just say class 11, and under class 11, let's just have our index.html, and let's equally have our JavaScript app.js. All right. Okay, so yeah, so DOM, right? So DOM JavaScript, DOM JavaScript. So that's actually what's, the kind of JavaScript that actually works with your HTML to produce that kind of interactivity that you require. And so in our last class, I didn't talk about the DOM JavaScript because I needed to lay some foundation, right? It's important to lay the foundation because when you understand the foundation, it's actually easy to go into DOM JavaScript, because inside DOM JavaScript is just going to be the application of the basics of JavaScript plus the methods of plus other HTML methods, including CSS methods that are available for JavaScript to use, right? So there is DOM. DOM actually stands for document object model, right? So I'm going to demonstrate it in subsequent classes, but this is what DOM means: DOM JavaScript, document object model. So, but like I said, before you are able to go into DOM to really understand what it is, there are a couple of things you already need to know as the basics. And that's why in our previous class, in our last class, if you've not watched the video, you can actually go on the YouTube channel, and you'd be able to see the first class. So first we talked about Node.js, what it is, talked about semicolon. That is actually used to end a statement in JavaScript, similar to a full stop or period in normal English language. Talked about the compiler, that it translates human readable code into machine language and enables the machine, to be able to understand what you are saying, right? Um, Talked about comments in JavaScript. This is actually how single line comment is written. You have double forward slash, then whatever follows there is actually a comment. But if you want to do a multi-line comment, maybe you want to comment about maybe 4 or 5 lines at the same time, there's no need of giving double forward slash on every line. You just have to say forward slash asterisk, then you write, you select, right? Or maybe at the end of where you intend to stop the comment, you actually have an asterisk and you have a forward slash. So that actually closes that comment at that point. Then we talked about variables and data types. Talked about variables to be likened to a box. Variables are actually references in memory, right? That's store data, right? So the variables are not the data, but they are more like a placeholder in memory to store data. Okay, so data types is what we'll start with today. But we talked about the different methods of, declaring variables, talked about the use of the var keyword, the use of the let keyword, and the use of the const keyword, right? And we also did mention the differences between the var, the let, and the const, that their differences lie in scope, right? Their differences lie in scope. Their differences lie in the ability to be reassigned, either within the same block of the same scope, right? That's maybe within the same block of code or within the same function scope. We did explain that extensively in the previous video, so you can check that out. So different between var, yeah. We talked about, let me go down. So var, we said var is function scoped, right? And var, you can access it before your declaration. However, it's going to return undefined, right? Then you can also reassign and you can reinitialize it at any point in time. You can also redeclare a variable that has been stored with the var keyword, right? And of course, I did demonstrate that in the previous class. So I talked about declaring a variable. I equally talked about assigning, that you assign a variable when you give the equal to sign and you give a value, right? So it's more like left hand, right hand. So the left hand is where you have the variable declaration. Then when you now have an equal to sign and a value after that, that's what you now call assignment. You are assigning that variable, or you are initializing. So any of those two words, you will always come across that. So there is assignment and there is initialization. So two of them are used interchangeably, but declaration, it's just when you have something like this. Line 46 is declaration. Line 48 is what we call assignments, right? You're actually assigning or initializing x to say, oh, let x be 5, right? Then what we are doing on line 50 is that we have declared a variable y and we've assigned it on that same line. So I did say you can first declare and later assign, or you declare and assign depending on the use case. Okay, so talked about Okay, so let's go. So I also said that for every function, you actually need to call it, to invoke it or call it in order for you to be able to, in order for that function to run and for you to see an output. Okay, so we went on to talk about the let keyword to say that let keyword is actually block scoped and you cannot access it before you declare it. You also cannot reassign it, neither can you, reassign or reinitialize it. Then you cannot redeclare it within the same scope. And of course, we talked extensively about that using this function math. All right, so const keyword block scoped, yeah, is block scoped. You also cannot access it before you declare. You cannot reassign or reinitialize it. And also you cannot redeclare it within the same scope. And const keyword also doesn't allow you to declare without assigning. So I could say that's the next distinct feature around const. So so for const keyword, you cannot so for const keyword, let me just say you must assign it as you are declaring it. Maybe there could be a better way to put that anyway, but yeah, so that's the explanation. You must not assign it. You must assign it as you are declaring it, right? So you cannot just declare it and on the next line you said, oh, I want to assign it. So as you are declaring, you must assign at the same time, right? And also the use case for this is that const is used to store constants, right? Things that you know are not going to change. So in my example, I did talk about const pi, right? You know, pi in mathematics equals to 3.142. So you can use const pi to say equals to 3.142. Why? Because pi would not change. Okay, so I did demonstrate it here in function arts, and yeah, that's where we stopped in our last class. So for our class today, we will still continue with the preliminary or with the basics of JavaScript because that's actually the foundation and that's what you actually need as a prerequisite for really manipulating the DOM, that's document object model, with JavaScript. So I believe in our next class, we should be able to go into the DOM. So when we go into the DOM, you're going to see the interaction between JavaScript and HTML. You would equally see the interaction between JavaScript and CSS. But for now, let's continue. So, so I think what I would like to do is just to create a new um, index.html, just to start on something fresh. So what do? We say HTML5 as usual. That gives us a document. So we can say JavaScript basics. Can say JavaScript basics class 2, right? Then remember, I also mentioned how to link your JavaScript file to your HTML file. I did mention that there's what we call script tag, right? Script, and within the script tag, you can actually write your JavaScript direct, right? You can write your JavaScript. Maybe you want to console log something, So yeah, so maybe hey or something. So this within the body tag, so you can just write, if you want to write your JavaScript directly, so you can just write script using the script tag. Also, another way is you can decide to come to the head tag, right, and put your script tag there. That's another way. So if you like, you could even write JavaScript here. But like I said, that's not best practice. So you will just have to create an external JavaScript file. So if you just type hey Okay, so let's actually run this so that you will see the demonstration. So like I said, since we've not started dealing with the DOM directly, so for now, just for now, you would have to inspect and go to the console area of your um, console area that's after inspecting, you go to the console to be able to see the output. So you can see here, hey, right? And that's in the head, right? So if you go to the body, so let's just copy this, come to the body. So let's say showing in body, so we can say showing in body elements, right? So when you equally see that showing body element. So it shows in the head, shows in the body. So within the head and body, another thing you can do is so this is one method within the head. So you could equally if you have an external JavaScript file, so you can equally bring it here and use the word src, that script tag, then src attributes, of course. Then you would now plug in the external JavaScript file. So you plug in the external JavaScript file, and in my case is app.js. So, but what happens is if you are using your script tag within your head tag, and this script is actually going to depend on your HTML. If it is going to depend on your HTML, then there's an attribute called defer. So what defer does, right, is that it allows your HTML to finish loading and it passes it. So when I say pass, I just mean something like this, P-A-R-S-E, not P-A-S-S. So it allows your HTML to be loaded and, it passes your HTML first. After that, the JavaScript file will now work, right? But if you don't add this defer, what you are going to see is that immediately you load this HTML file, the JavaScript will run even before your HTML completely executes. So with that, you might have unexpected or unintended behavior of what you wrote in your JavaScript, or you might not even see the results, kind of. Why? Because your JavaScript is going to run actually before the HTML loads. So if you actually want your HTML to run first, that's if your JavaScript file is dependent on the DOM or dependent on the HTML. What you would want to do is just to say defer, right? So when you defer, it's actually going to wait until your HTML loads before the JavaScript will run. That's if you are using it on the head tag. But if you are using it on the body tag, right? So if you are bringing an external file on the body tag, so at the end of your HTML, before just the last tag or the last element before your body, so you can bring in your script. Within your script, you have your src, then you can now say /app.js. So at this point, so every other HTML code will be written up here. This is actually going to be the last. So that ensures that your HTML is totally passed or totally loaded, before the JavaScript is released. So at this point, you don't need to add the defer. You don't need to add that defer because you're actually positioning it at the point where it's going to run according to your original intention. So those are really the stuffs around that. And so by this, we've linked our JavaScript. And if you go to app.js, so let's see what we have. We want to talk about, so we have talked about variables. Now we want to talk about data types. Data types. So data types. Data types is just to demonstrate it, right? I just need to demonstrate it. So for data types, we have so we have string, string. We have, I'm gonna still demonstrate it. We have number, we have what? We have array, we have objects, we have um, object, we have undefined as a data type, we have null. Yeah. So for string, what's string in, or how is string represented? So if you have something like maybe let's say const, or okay, let's just use let's just to be a little bit loose to say let's name, right? So we can say let's name equals to um Ifyok, right? So this is a string. This is how string is represented. String is actually represented with double or with a quotation mark, actually. So you can make it single, right? You can make it single. You can equally make it double. But let me explain the difference between single and double. So, but before then, let's just console.log. So you want to see what name is, right? So you can say type of name. So why do I have this? Name is deprecated. Okay, so let's okay, so let's say my name. My name. Okay, so let's do this to say console.log type of my name. So at this point, I would like to run this code just on my VS Code. I wouldn't like to always go to the HTML since we are not yet working on the DOM JavaScript. So, but normally if you go to your HTML, right, and so if you go to your code, let me reload and see. So you see string. So we said type of my name. So it tells you, or it tells us that the type of my name is actually a string, right? So, but I don't want to be going to the browser for now. So what I would just do is to open up my terminal. So I'm using a Mac. So control and backtick is actually going to open terminal for you if you're using a Mac. If you're using a Windows, you actually find out the corresponding shortcut, but also you can come here if you want to look for what the corresponding shortcut is, come to the topmost bar here, click on terminal, then you see new terminal. So at the far right, you're going to see the shortcuts, the keyboard shortcut for Windows if you're using Windows, right? Yeah, so that you'll not be left out in the class. So you can, click there and have your terminal. Okay, so what we want to do, remember I said in order to run JavaScript on your VS Code, you actually need to have Node.js installed, right? That's very important. So if you must have gone to the website to download it if you do not have, and it's just simply Node. Let me type it. So you just go to the website and download it. It's just download and install, right? So it's just at node.js. That's the website to download. Immediately, you just download it and you get to install it. And also, if you also want to check if you have Node installed, I think you can do Node just to check. I think dash V. Let me see. Okay, Node dash V is actually going to show you the version of Node that is installed in your machine. right? Or you do node dash version. I think so. Okay, so any of them, either you use the V flag, for version, or you just type it directly, like full. So it's going to show you the version of node that is installed on your system, right? That's if you have. So if you have issues running your JavaScript on your terminal, it might be, depending on what the error message is, it might be that you probably don't have node installed. Okay, so let me clear this. All right, so let's run this code here. I want to run it here to say node. So node. So what we can do is you can come to your app.js, right? And right click, remember, then copy relative path. Copy relative path, node, then Control V, you paste it. So it's going to show you the exact location of this your code, so that when you say node and that relative path is actually going to find your JavaScript file and will run it. So if I just say, okay, so let me enter. Yeah, so it just tells me that it is a string. So yeah. So if I had just done node app.js, is not going to work because there's no app.js within my current folder. This is the parent folder, class 1. Every other folder here is a subfolder within class 1. So in order for me to access this app.js, I need to tell the compiler that, oh, it's actually under class 11, you know. So if I just say app.js, it throws an error. Throws an error to say cannot find module /user/apple/desktop and all of that. So just to let you know, yeah, so we've already seen the console. Yeah, so yeah, so it shows string. So I'm trying to differentiate what's the difference between single quotation mark and double. So two of them will always work. If you use double is still going to work. Let me see. Double is going to work. You run it to still show you that it is a string. So, but the difference between single and double is that, for example, within a string, right? String just has to do with text. You can bring in text, you can bring in numbers, you can bring in special characters, you can bring in anything within a string as long as you wrap it within a quotation mark, either single or double, right? So anywhere you see either single quotation mark or you see double quotation mark in JavaScript and some content or even without content, that is actually a string. So yeah, so difference between single and double is just that. So within this text, so let's say I wanted to bring in quotation, maybe I'm quoting an author, right? I'm trying to quote an author, and of course, within that this thing to say, okay, so let's have a new string. Let me just show you. So let's maybe author, or let's text. Let me just use text equals to. So maybe within this text, I want to quote Shakespeare. So let's say Shakespeare said, so what did Shakespeare say? So so let's just so dot 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 dot, right? Dot 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 something. So what I'm saying here is that I'm bringing in a quotation, I'm quoting someone. So because I'm quoting someone, I'm actually going to quote the person with single quote. So at the point where I quote someone with a single quote, the mother, because there still has to be, this single quote is just for what Shakespeare said. But I still want to tell JavaScript that this whole text from Shakespeare to what Shakespeare said is a string. So it is at this point that I'm going to put it in, I will wrap everything within double quotation mark. So at this point, if I run it, it's still going to tell me, okay, so let me console log something. Maybe let me console.log text. And I can also console.log to say type of, I want to know the type of text, what text is. So at this point, I can come here to run. And yeah, so you're going to see string. First one is a string, which is this type of my name. Shakespeare said, so you would see this. Then the next one, type of, what is it? It's still a string. But what if we did this? Let's see. So you see, you can't wrap it. If you already have a quotation, like single quotation mark inside that string, you can't wrap it around a single quotation mark again. Already you're seeing it's giving an error here. It's giving an error. And if you try to run it, of course, you will see that error. So you'd see that there's an error here. So you see the error is on line 15. So it says let text equals to Shakespeare said this. So he said unexpected token, right? So it wasn't expecting that. So, but what if within your quotation you decide to bring in double? So sometimes you just play around and see what happens. So let's run, or let's clear first. So let's run and see. Okay, so do you see how it shows up? So it now shows up as, the double quotation mark now comes out, while it now allows the single quotation mark on the external to show that, oh, this is still a string, right? So, but whatever the case, so it's just telling you that if you have single quotes within a string, then you need to wrap it round double quotes. And if you have double quote within, okay, so what if we have double quote and we want to wrap it with double quote again? Let's see. So you see, it's going to complain. Let's try to run it and see the error. Unexpected token. So you can't use two of them within that string value, right? So you either have to use, if you wrap it round double, then if there has to be something inside, then let it be single. Then if you use single to wrap round, then if there has to be a quotation inside, it has to be double. So you understand the opposite. So that's really what it is. So yeah, so let's use single and wrap it with double. I actually like using double just by default for me. So but you can use single if you like, you can use double, right? So let's go. So that's string, right? So number, of course, number is just, maybe you say let's x equals to, let's say x equals to 5, for example. So immediately you just log, right? Immediately you console log x, x. So you can just see, or type of, yeah. So we are dealing with type of because we want to see type of x. We want to see what's the type of x. So let's clear our terminal, drag it up. Let's see. So you see number, right? Number. So as I'm progressing, I would like to comment out all these other console logs so that it might not confuse us by any means. So, so if we run it again, of course, you're going to see number, right? Number. So this is number, a data type. Then array. So an array is actually an array. It's called an array, but the type of array is actually an object anyway. So, but it's an array. So, so you can say const fruits, const fruits equals to. So this how array is written. It starts with the square bracket, right? So with the square bracket, you know, you can bring in a string, right? String to say maybe mango, to say orange. So you cannot just say orange. You need to bring it in a string, except you can only say orange if you've defined orange outside. You can now bring in orange. So if you say, so for example, if you say maybe let's orange. So you can now, it is at this point you can just bring in orange and it will not throw an error. But if you have not already defined, if the compiler, um, reads your code from top to where that current line and does not see where you had defined orange, it's going to throw an error because it wouldn't know what an error is. But at this point, my orange is undefined because I just declared it. I did not initialize it, right? So, but I think within here I can initialize it. Let me see, maybe 3. Okay, so I can initialize it within my array if I like. And if I console log fruits, you're actually going to see the results. So I'm just trying to tell you that, array can contain only strings if you like. It can also contain only numbers. It can also contain a mix of both. So I think, let me do that. Let me see. So const norm. Okay, so let me see. Norm equals to, so let me just say an array of numbers to say maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so yeah, so that's array of numbers. So next I can just say array of strings, just strings. So const text array, text ARR to be equal to, so you can have maybe okay, maybe I want to bring in some stuffs like this pronoun. She, maybe himself. Okay, so maybe herself or something. Okay, so so this is it. This is an array of numbers. This is an array of just strings. This is an array of both strings and numbers. So at this point, you can console log, right? So let's console log. So console.log. So you want to say console.log type of. So you want to see type of num. So we can put the 3 instead of writing it on 3 lines. So we can say type of num, comma, type of text ARR, comma, type of fruits, right? So just to see the type. So when we run, so you can see object, object, object. So that's what I said, that the compiler sees array as an object, although it is an array. But if you say, okay, I want to console log fruits alone. Let me see. Console log fruits. So let me clear. Okay, so let me see. So you can see, you remember I told you that you can, we just declared orange here, right? And we decide to initialize it within our array. So if you want to do this, it will still work, right? So, but if you don't want, you maybe just want to put 3. So you can just come here and, leave it at 3. You can just leave 3 here. If you console log, it's still going to, it's still going to give you 3. So, but, so this is just, but let me leave it at orange equals to 3, just to show you that you can do something like this. Okay, so that's array. So objects, just showing you around data types. Objects. So what's objects now? Let me see. Let me comment out this console log. So objects, so you can equally have array of objects. Yeah, and I also needed to say that. You can say const obj arr object array equals to um so you have an object. This is actually what you use for an object, right? So an object is denoted with this curly brace, right? So you're going to have something inside. So comma, you have another object, you have another object. So when you have something like this is an array of objects. So you're going to have some stuffs inside to say, um, so you can have maybe name, right? Maybe wisdom. You can have, yeah. So basically, an object just has what we call key value, right? So here you can say maybe size, maybe my t-shirt size. You can say maybe XL. Maybe you can say shoe size, for example. Maybe you can say maybe 45, then I don't know, any other thing. Or you can say color, dark, you know. So it just has an array of objects, Object just has what we call key value pairs. Key value pairs, right? So if we now come to object here to say, you know, um, let's say const, many a times you see const being used for objects because objects are more like objects really don't change like that except you change it, except you use some methods to change object. So, but an object, you would most likely always see const being used to store an object. So you can say const maybe obj equals to. So this is me demonstrating an object, right? So like I said, object has curly brace, and within the curly brace, you can actually have anything, but it has to be key and value, right? You can have as many properties within an object. So maybe you can say someone's name is maybe John Doe, right? Maybe you can say, or maybe you can say first name. Let's do something like that to say first name, John, then let me see. So you can have last name, maybe you do, do, comma, you have gender, gender to say, I don't know, maybe male or something. Then DOB, you can have something like DOB for date of birth. So you can have, maybe, I don't know, 10, maybe John Doe was born in 1900, for example. So you actually use comma. So within an object, right, you use commas to separate each key value. So first name is a key, while this is value. So you can actually have numbers, right, to say, you can even have, let me show you, you can have age to say, so 1900 till now, how long would that be? So let me see. 1900 till now, maybe, let me see. Okay, so let's just put an approximate age, let's just say it's 200 years, for example. Okay, so um okay, so 200 years, let's just say 200 years, for example. So this just to show you that you actually wanted the age to be in number. So your value can be a number, within an object. In fact, your value can be an array. you know, let me see. What other things does he have? So let's say maybe color, of shirts, maybe the colors of his shirts. Maybe he has a lot of shirts, so you can put them in an array to say maybe he has blue, he has red, maybe he has a red t-shirt, he has yellow, he has brown or something, right? So you can see objects can have, the value. Now, talk about value. It could be strings, it could be numbers, it could be an array, right? So, yeah. So let's change this age to maybe 124. Okay, yeah, thanks. Okay, so it could be, yeah, and I will still show you how to assess each value. But at this point, I'm just trying to show you data type so that I don't deviate. So let's console.log, maybe type of, right? Type of obj. Let's see. So let's run to say, let's clear first and let's run. So type of obj is an object, which there's another console log that is running. Okay, this is it. So let me just comment it first. Okay, so type of obj, let's go again. So you see it's an object. So there are different ways to assess each of these members of this object, which I will just show in a bit, but let's continue. So undefined. So if it's just say let's p, right? This is actually where you get undefined, or one of the ways, right? Console.log p. So it will tell you that, well, I don't know what p is. So you can see undefined, right? So p is undefined and it's a data type because we didn't define p. We just say let's p. We just declared it. We did not initialize it. We did not give it a value. So the compiler is going to return to tell you that, oh, yeah, I found p, but p is undefined. So null is maybe let's, okay, and if you say, of course, type of undefined is undefined. So let me see, that's not what I wanted to do. So let me see. So if we console.log console.log, let's still use type of, maybe type of p, right? So let me comment this guy. So let's clear first and let's run it. So it's the same thing. It shows you that, oh, p is actually undefined, right? Okay, so null. So maybe let's anything. Let's what? Okay, let's just use let's a anything. Let's a equals to null, right? So if you have something like this and you console.log to say type of a. So let's run it. So type of a will actually give you an object. Null is actually seen by the compiler as an object, but it's actually null because if you console.log a, it will still give you null to tell you that a is equal to null as a value. So a is null as a value, right? A is null as a value, but the type of null is an object. That's how the compiler reads it. So, but just to show you that these are the various types of data types that you actually have in JavaScript. So I will show you, let me just show you for objects, maybe how to access. So for example, in this object, you have first name, which is John. You have last name, which is Doe. You have gender, which is male. So maybe you want to just pick the age of John Doe, right? Maybe you want to pick the age of John Doe. Let's pick just the age. So how do we pick? Because an object is actually going to have, like I said, or an object actually has key value pairs. So with that object, you can store a lot of values, maybe about details about somebody, properties about something, or maybe about a place, an experience, a whole lot. As you can see, for this, my own, what I just did is I just put in, John Doe's details, right? To say, oh, first name is John, last name is Doe, gender is this, and, So if we want to say, how old is John Doe, for example? So we can do something like this. Let's do something like this to say, so console.log. So I want to see the output, right? So console.log, maybe we want to say how old is John Doe. So we can say console.log obj dots. So do you see, immediately you say an object and dots is actually going to bring out all the properties of that object. That's really how JavaScript works. You use the dots notation or the dots notation to access properties of an object. So when you say object dots, so you can already see age, of course, age is here, color of shirts is here, DOB is here, first name is here, So what do we want? So we want to see his age, obj.age. So if you run this, let's run this to say clear, and let's run it. So you see 124, right? 124. It means that we have been able to assess the age of John at this point. But if you even want to be more, if you want to be more dramatic, you can do something like this. Maybe to say console.log. Let me see. So you can say how old is John? Then question mark. Okay. Then you can come here to say, so John, we want to target John. So you can come here to say John, that's actually first name. So you can say obj dot first name is, but that is, you need to put it as a string, is, before the is, you need to use plus, use another plus. So obj dot first name. So you're going to say John is, you want to say John is 124 years old. So you can say obj dot first name, which is going to output John is. So this is actually a way to join strings together using plus. So let me see. Let me just type it here to say plus sign is used for string concatenation. So you will see something like this, concatenate. So it's more like to join, right? You use plus to join strings together. So that's why I'm doing this. So object of first name. So I want to say John is 124 years of age or years old. So years, so plus years old, just to be a little bit dramatic. So how old is John? Let's see. So clear. So if you run it, okay. So how old is John? So it says John is 124 years old. So what's we didn't see the spaces. So we can just come here to say John is. So we can put a space before is, you know, 124 plus. We can put space. We want to just put space. So to put space here, so we can say empty string and give space plus. Okay. Then before years, we can give a little space. So for string, when you give space within or in between the string, it's actually going to read it as space, right? It will not clear that space. So if I give a lot of space, maybe a lot of space, it's actually going to give a lot of space in the output. So just to let you know, right? So you see, it's actually going to give a lot of space in the output. So the spaces within string actually counts. That's just to show you. So, but just to, let me take it back. I just wanted to add one space, right? To just show you how old John is. Let me clear. And, you know. So how old is John? John is 124 years old. So you see that I got those values from this object. So if the values change tomorrow here, my code will just remain. My code will continue to output the age. So whatever changes happens here, my age will continue to change depending on whatever age there is here. So so it is one way to assess the, let me type it. So using assessing the object property. So I can say assessing the object property using the dot notation, right? So you can use the dot notation to assess the object property. So another way you can assess the object property is, let me see. Another way you can assess the object property is by using the square bracket. That's this. So within this is still obj, right? So within the obj, we can say console.log. So obj, so obj, and we say this. So if we say this and let me see to say dob. Does this work? No. Let me see. Okay. Yeah. So if you want to directly assess the object's values, and maybe you already know the key. This is just the key, right? When you say DOB. So when you console log this, it's going to console log the date of birth here. So let's see. So you see, it gives you 10, 10, 1900, right? So this is another way of assessing the object's properties. So access, okay, accessing obj properties, using square bracket, right? So you can use square brackets and access it. Then another way for objects, right, is console.log, so when you say obj, and you put 0. So let's see. 0 is actually going to bring out first name, right? We check that out. 1 will bring out last name. 2, so we're actually using the index. This is using index. Let me see. So let's say accessing the OBJ, object property using the index. So for this OBJ, the index starts from 0. So you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we say console.log obj of 0, so let's see. So what we are expecting is first name. Okay, so let's see. So let's clear, let's run it. So what do we have here? DOB is this, okay, undefined. Okay, so I think that's going to work with arrays. Let me see, but that would, yeah, so that will work with arrays actually. So let me see. Okay, so this will work with arrays, right? So let's take this out. So at the moment, yeah, just 2 ways. But when you now go to arrays, so this is objects, right? You can use the dot notation. You could equally use the square bracket. But now when you go to arrays, right, coming here, and you want to access the members of an array, so how do you do that? You use the index. So use the index to access members. So you can say members of an array, right? So here, so where you had let me see, const. Okay, let's start with the first one. Const text array. Okay, const num. So you see here, so you have 0. So this index, remember I said index starts at position 0. So if you have number 1, whatever is here is 0. Whatever is here is 1. Whatever is here is 2. Whatever is here is 3. Whatever is here is 4. Whatever is here is 5. So what I can do is, let me do something like this to say maybe index. Let me see, index. Let me take it back a little bit. So I want to say equals to, so I want to say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So that's the index, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you want to access 4, just say num console.log num, num, that's the name of the array, right? So you can say num, then square bracket. So you want to access 4, so we just say 3. So num at position 4, that's at index 4. Okay, so let's see that. Let's clear. So yeah. So it's actually going to, okay. So am I making a mistake? Okay, position 4. Yeah, so 4, of course, will bring out 5. So what I was trying to output 4. So 4, we are going to use 3 as the index, right? Let's go again. So it brings out 4, right? Because we are now using num at index 3. So if you come here, same thing, right? Same thing, just let me copy this index, So that's what you actually use, Same thing here, take this back. So this is 0, then 1, 2, 3. So this one just has, yeah. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Right. So if you want to access the one at the second position, which is she, so you can just console.log text array at what position 1 at index 1. It's actually going to give us she, right? So let's clear. So let's run it. So it gives us she, right? So if you like, you can actually make some stuffs around this to say maybe maybe you can create, you can form a sentence. She maybe made a nice meal or something, you know. So you can now run it. So you would see she made a nice meal. Okay, so yeah, so you can play around, right? As long as you know how to access. And there are a lot of methods, a lot of methods for each of these. Let's say for an array, there are methods, there are ways to, you want to go through. So let's say, for example, you want to go through he, she, himself, herself. You want to go through all the members of this array, right? So you can actually use a for loop. So now we've entered into loops just now. Okay, so using loops to access each member of the array. Yeah. So loops. Let's say we want to loop over this const object array, right? Let's say we want to loop. And when we loop, what do we want to do? So let's say we want to use a for loop. So let me show you the syntax. So you're going to have for, then you would have, you need to declare an index. So you can say let I or let index equals to 0. You give a start point, or so you can say something like this. I want to write the syntax. So let me comment. So you can say let index, yeah. So let me just say index equals to number, NU, number here. Then after number, you're going to have range, right? Range. Then after range, you're going to have counter, yeah, counter. Yeah. So so this is actually the syntax. Oh no, I don't intend to do this. So this is the syntax. Let me use multi-line comment. This is actually the syntax for a for loop. You have for, this is the for keyword, right? And after that for, you have the okay, so you can say variable declaration and assignment if you want to. Let me see. So you can say variable declaration and assignment. Then here you are going to state the range, right? Then here you give a counter. This counter can increment. It could equally decrease or decrement, whatever, come down. It could count up, it could count down. So let's just demonstrate, just give an example. So all of this, I'm just taking you into different topics so you can actually go and, go into and deepen more, right? You can deepen on loops, for loops, while loops. So, I've talked about arrays. You can check out array methods, right? Array methods. What are array methods? You are going to see them. I will just demonstrate a few of them just for you to see, but I intend that, you should be able to go back and do more study, because after this class, we have just one class left. And in that class, we are actually going to go into DOM JavaScript, right? We'll go into JavaScript for the DOM. So we are not going to talk about the basics again at that point. So, but I'm just introducing the basics to you so that, you can get to know what is what, and from there you can do more study. All right. So we want to loop through this line 34 just with a simple for loop. So this is how, remember, this is the syntax for variable declaration and assignment. Then you state the range, then the counter, whether it's incrementing or decrementing. So you can say for variable, maybe let index equals to 0. Maybe you want to start at 0. You can actually start anywhere. It depends on what you want to do. Then we can say index is less than or equal to. So I'm now stating the range. So our index now is 0, right? Index is 0. So I want to say that index is less than, because I want to loop through this array, obj array, right? So index is actually less than the obj array dot the length. Then, so let me just define it here to say, so when you say an array dot length, so what you just mean is, okay, so I think let me see, before this line, let me console log the length of this array so that you would see obj array. So let's console log it so that you see it in practice. Console.log console.log obj, yeah. So obj array dots length. So you see that there are a lot of methods which you actually need to go and study. See, there's dot concat, copy within. You can go and check what does each of these methods do. Dot every, dot filter, dot find, dot flats, dot for each. In fact, these are a whole lot of array methods. Okay, so there are a lot. So, but I just want to show you the length, right? Length. So the length of an array is actually to say, it's like saying 1. This is 1, right? All of this is 1. Then you have comma. Then the next is 2. This is the second. The number of items actually, or the counts. Then you have 3, which stops at this point. Then you have the last one, 4. So this is the length of this array. So this array, the length of this array is 4. So if we say console.log obj arr.length. So let's see, let's clear. Okay, so I already have a console.log showing 4, but I want to differentiate it so that you will see. So I can say obj array length is. So let's differentiate it. So if we clear and we run it again, so you can see obj array length is 4. So you can see it just shows you that obj array dot length is actually 4, right? So so when you see, so let me uncomment that for loop. So just to understand, so when you say let index equals to 0, yeah, so you have declared and you have assigned index to be 0. Then you come to the next one to say, oh, index to be less than or equal to object array dot length. So what you are saying is that index is less than or equal to 4. So what that means is that index can be 0, index can be 1, index can be 2, index can be 3, and index can be 4. So that is range, right? Range. So after that, you now have the last one is counter. So you can say, index plus plus. So this is a counter. It increments because at every point that the loop runs, it has to go again and go again. That's actually how the loop is. You know, when you look at loop, or you see, maybe you want to loop a music, maybe you've been playing, maybe you have a playlist of like three songs, and there's an option to loop. That loop, what that loop just does is that after the three songs in the playlist, it goes over again, right? A second time and goes again, a third time and goes again, a fourth time and goes again. You know, you are looping it until you say stop, then it stops there. But as long as it does not say stop, it will keep going. So here you are saying index plus plus. So at the first point, index is 0, right? So it comes here to say, index plus plus, oh, I've been incremented. So the next one would now be, index will now be equal to 1. So as it is increasing this index, it will be checking out for this range to be say, oh, hope I'm within the range. You understand? Because we said index should not, so this line just says index should not exceed 4, right? So, but you might ask, so why don't we just write, since the length is 4, why don't we just write 4? So because we want to make our loop to be dynamic, we don't just want to put the number. So when you say object array.length, whatever length it is, tomorrow or later in the code, we might decide to extend the content of this array and add more items. So this loop will still run as intended and still go through, it will still loop through all the items in the array without us coming to our code to change it, to say, oh, this is now the new length. Take it as a number. So immediately we just say object array.length. It means that when the compiler reaches line 44, it has to calculate what the length of this array is, and it's going to use that as a value. So when you say index plus plus, oh, increment. So it will increment, go to 1. Then after running the code, it increments again, go to 2. But while it is doing that, it is checking that, hope I'm not exceeding the range. Yeah. So you have your curly brace, and let's console log. So let's console.log. Maybe we want to console log the items. We want to console log the first one, we want to console log the second one, we want to console log the third and fourth. So just look at how a loop works. So when you say console.log, you just say console.log to say, let me see, just to say obj array at position or at index. Okay, so I said at index. So we want everything to be outputted. So this for loop is going to run the first time, it's going to run the second time, it's going to run the third time, it's going to run the fourth time. And at each time, I want it to give me a log to my console to say, this object array, give me object array at index 0. For the first one, this index is going to be 0, right? Okay, so let me, I think to make it more explanatory, so let me do this. Console.log index, so that you would see for yourself what index is. So let me comment out this one first, just for you to see what index is or how it runs. So let's clear. So let's run to say node. Yeah. So you can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It runs 4 times. I don't know. Can I take out other console logs? Let me see. Just comment them out and let's go again. clear, then go again. So except the first console log that I console log, but you can see here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see that this loop has run this number of times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so initially it was 0, right? Because we had said let index be equal to 0. Then we said index plus plus, like just increment it by 1, right? Increment index by 1. Then to increase it to 1 and to check the range. Oh, index must not exceed 4. So am I within the range? It says yes. It goes again. 2. It goes again. 3. Am I within the range? Yes. It goes again. 4. Am I within the range? Yes. It wants to go again. 5. Am I within the range? No. It stops. So this is it. So when you now say console.log object array, right? So remember, this is object array at position, like at index. So you now know that this index are numbers. The real value, you remember I talked about variables. This is actually a variable. When you say index, let index equals to 0. Let this variable equals to this number. So remember that variables are just pointers. So don't see it as text. They are pointers to where the main data is. So this index, which is a variable, is storing a number. That's literally what it is. Yeah, so you don't get confused. So let's go. So when you say console.log objarr index, so let's run it and see what we have. So let's clear and go again. So you can see. So you can see, yeah. So you can see as it runs this, it's going to run this, then go back, run 45 again, come back, run 46, then go again, run 45, then run 46, go again, run 45, 40. So it just keeps repeating. Why? Because this is where the for loop stops. Any other thing we have on this line is actually going to run. It will run this one, run this, then go back, run, then go back, run. So literally that's how loop is. It just keeps going and going and going. So you can see it ran the index. First index was 0. And what is the object array at index 0? Is name wisdom, is an object. You see, name wisdom. Second one, size XL. Third one, shoe size 45. Then fourth one, color dark. So it actually went to run the fifth one. It ran 4 times actually. And it now gave us undefined because it didn't find object array at position 5 or at index 5. So what we can do, we can modify our code to say let index start from 1, if that is the case. So that the first, okay, so if we say, no, that will not work. Let it start from 0 because the first index here is actually 0. So we want it to start with, from 0. But what we can do is, so we said less than or equal to. So we can just say less than. Yeah. So, when you say less than or equal to the length, the length is actually 4. And when you say less than or equal to 4, it means that it could be 1, it could be 0, it could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4, less than or equal. But now we are just saying just be less than. So it means that it can never be equal. It's going to be 0, 1, 2, and 3. So let's see. Let's clear and let's run it again. So you can see 0. We said, oh, start at 0, and it did, gave us the first one. Then it went again and added, gave us the second one. then went again, gave us the third, then it went again and gave us the fourth. So you can see this loop ran 4 times, but the initial loop ran 5 times actually. Why? Because we said this was our range. We said our range should be less than or equal to, but now we've said just be less than. So with that, it's actually going to run 4 times, and it's going to output all the members of our array. So there's a lot around arrays, right? There's a whole lot. So let me see. So we can, let me see. A lot around arrays. We've demonstrated for loop. So you can check other methods of array. Okay, I think I should just demonstrate push. Let me just say push. So we can say, okay, so let me demonstrate it outside to say, this is the array, right? Okay, let me add, okay, so let's use num. I think num would be a bit interesting. So let's say const num equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to push something into num. So when you say push, let me just comment here to say array dot push method, right, adds an item to the end of the array, right? So if you say console dot log to say dot push, right? So our array is num. Remember, we are using num. So our num stops where? Let me see. It starts at 1 and stops at 6. So what if we want to add 7? So we can use array dot push. So we can say num dot push. Then we add what we want to push into the array to say we want 7 to be pushed into the array. So with this num, yeah, 7. Okay. So let's console log. So what we want to console log. Okay, so this is not what we want to do. Let's take out the console.log, but let's push it. Let's push it. Then after pushing, let's now console log the num again. Console.log num, just to be sure that 7 has jumped inside the array after pushing. So let's see. Let's clear and let's run it again. So this is num. You can see. Okay, so let's be very clear. So we can just, I like to add some string and you know, a clear message to say num. So we can say num has transformed to this. Okay, so that's transformed to num. You know, there's now a new num, right? So we can clear, then we can do this. So of course you can see num has transformed to this. Look at it. It's now an array with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? So you can add to the back. You can remove. If you use .pop, array.pop is going to take out the last. What is at the end here? You know, so there are really a lot which you need to go and learn. So you can say .pop. So let me see. So we've added 7. So let's pop out, maybe in this fruit, let's pop out 10, this last one. Yeah. Then we'll now log out, we'll now console log what fruits are after popping. So pop, so let's say fruit dot pop. Why do we have this? Dot pop. So why am I not having those suggestions? Let me see. .pop. So let's console.log fruits. So so let me see. Okay, so let's see. Let's clear and let's run. So you can see we said pop. Pop is going to remove the last one. Initially it was mango, orange. Then we said orange will be equal to 3, which is more like 3. Then this is 10. So we just popped out the last one. And there are a lot of array methods which you need to learn, dot split, dot shift, dot unshift. It's a lot. So, but we wouldn't dwell on that too much. At least I've been able to demonstrate for loop, while loop. So I can equally demonstrate while loop to show you while. So while loop, while. Okay, so to demonstrate that, let's have a counter. Let counter equals to 0. Let's say we want to start from 0 to count. Loop will always run and run and run. So while, so we want to say while counter. So is similar to the for loop, right? Because this is at this point, what you are doing is to say you are doing variable declaration and assignment. That's what you are doing on this line, right? Then while counter is less than, maybe you want to, let's now work on another array. Let's say maybe text ARR. So let's work on text ARR. So while counter is less than text ARR dot length. Remember, dot length, so that it's going to be a value, right? So counter is 0, it will count 1, that's what we intend. So when we say while, this is a while loop. While counter is less than this, then we have our curly brace to say maybe console.log what? .log maybe counter. We can decide to say console.log counter. So you now have your increments, you are now able to increment here, right? So at this point, what we are doing is we are incrementing. So this is range. So at this point, we have the range on this line. So it's very similar to for loop. Very similar to for loop, but this is a while loop, and this is how it runs. So the first counter is going to be 0. Second counter is going to be 1. Then you have 2. Then you have 3. So if you want to count 1 to 10, if you want to count 1 to 10, so we can make counter to be maybe less than 11. If we just want to count 1 to 10. So I think I should do that. Let me just count 1 to 10. Yeah, so let's count 1 to 10. So that's what this for loop will do. Let me see. Clear. So clear. Let's go to node to run this. Oh, okay. So 1 to 10. So okay, our counter started from 0. So we want it to be 1 to 10. So we can start at 1. And less than 10, it will stop at 9. So we can say less than or equal to. So it will start at 1 and stop at 10. Okay. So let's clear and let's demonstrate. So you can see first one was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, but if you just understand the syntax, that the first one, you just have to declare the variable and assign. while on the second line, you define the range, right? So let me say, you can say define the range, or defining, let me say defining the range. Then there will be a counter, So it is this counter that will hit it and it will go back again, and check. Because at this point, when you say counter, you've made counter was 1 initially. So when you say counter plus plus, counter has now become 2. Then to now check, is that 2 less than or equal to 10? The answer is yes. So it will go again. It will console log counter. Then come again and add 1 to counter. So counter now becomes 3. It goes here to say, is counter less than or equal to 10? It says yes. So it comes here, it console logs it, and it keeps going and going and going for as many times as you want it. So basically, this is for loop, this is while loop. So what else do I want to? Yeah, function. Let's just talk about function. Let's talk about function. Function declaration. I think that's really the main thing, because you might see it at different points. People write it differently. So, but it's important for you to know the 3 different ways of writing a function, so that anywhere you see it, you will know that, oh, this is a function. So there is this one that starts with the function keyword. Then after that is parenthesis. Then after parenthesis, you have curly brace. So what's this? Okay, sorry. Function, then the name of the function, sorry. So maybe function sing. Maybe a function to sing. And probably we can come here and do some kind of musical stunts. So you can see this function this way, written this way with this syntax. So you have the keyword, function, then the name, then parenthesis, then bracket. So this is it, function keyword. So let me see. So I can say something like keyword, or maybe function keyword plus name of function. So it depends on what you want the function to do. That's what determines what you name your function. Function, then plus parenthesis, plus curly brace. So this is one of the ways of writing your function. So there's a second way of writing the function. Okay, so someone is asking if we can have a little feel of how to use this on the website itself, to have a little practical use to it that we can relate with. Okay, so I think for this question, I'll just do something little, but I did not intend to go into that, but I'll just show you something little so that you see the demonstration. Yeah, so, but let me just show you the 3 ways of writing functions, because you might see it somewhere and you can probably get confused if you did not know that, oh, this is another way of writing function. Then, so we have second way. So we have second way, or second way of writing function or something. Okay, so what's the second method, or second, I don't know, anything. Second method of writing function, so is you can declare a variable to say const. I just want to keep using, okay, const pray, maybe const pray equals to, so you can have something like this, this, then you have this, then you have this. Okay, so this second method has to do with variable declaration plus name of function plus, so okay, let me see, variable declaration Yeah, variable declaration plus name of function plus an equal to sign, so let me wrap that in a string, plus an equal to sign plus what you see there is actually called arrow function. Arrow function, plus you now have curly brace. Yeah. So this is a second way. So this same function sing, right? Let me comment it out so that we do not throw error. You can come here to say const sing, right? And it's like, so you can see someone writes it this way. You could write your own this way if you like. So, but let me Control Z and Control Z. Okay, so the third way, let me see, third method. So, but it's just what is comfortable with you, right? But this is more like the oldest. This 114 is like the oldest way. Since JavaScript came out, we've been having this function keyword. But these are more like modern, I think ES6 or ES5 or something. Like modern JavaScript now allows you to do this. Then I think the third method, you still have to declare a variable, right? So let me see. Const, maybe play. Const play, let me see, equals to. Then you have parentheses. Then you have curly brace. I hope I got it right. So this is the arrow function. Trying to see. Okay, so I don't want to use arrow function. This is arrow function. Okay. So because of time, just give me a second to just make reference just quickly to say, okay, so let me just see. Third method. I actually don't use the third method like that. So, okay. So actually loading. Okay. So I'll write the third method. Just hold on. So, but someone said I should just demonstrate how, like in practical, so that's, just a way to relate. So, I think what I want to do is, let me just do a simple. Let me just use a button, just button and demonstrate. So, so let me see button. So maybe a submit button or something. So what you can do, let me see, go to our JS and let me see. So we want to say const button, maybe const btn, maybe const button equals to document.query selector. I've not yet gotten to DOM, but I just want to show you just a little to say button. So it's actually going to target that button. Then, so what I can do, I can set, so I can, let me just do some stuff around it. So I can say button dot style, maybe dot background color equals to maybe red. Then, okay, I will demonstrate the function at this point. Then I can add an event listener. I've not talked about event listener yet, but just because I want to demonstrate. So btn dot add event listener. So I want to add the event listener called click, right? So I want that when I click, there is something that I can run a function. So let me say function, maybe change, I want to change background color. Yeah. Change BG or change BG color. So when I click, I want to change the color. So, but before then, let's see what the color looks like at the moment. Let's see our index.html, let's open with live server. Okay, so why is it taking some time? Do you imagine? Okay, so let me all right, so let me try it again. Don't know why my open with live server. Don't know why my browser is acting funny. So I think I'm not interested in these pages. So let me see what I can do quickly. Just to, let me copy the URL and open another browser here. Okay, so let me paste it here. Okay. Maybe that browser is too loaded. So you can see at the moment. Okay, so okay, so sorry, let me. Okay, so all right, so let's see. So JavaScript for DOM, I'm already entering into DOM JavaScript because already you can see that in our index.html, there is no styling. We don't have a CSS file, but with our JavaScript, we're able to change the background color to red. So we can even, let's increase the font size. In fact, let's use JavaScript, let's increase the font size. So we to still go to btn.style. I'm already entering into DOM, but just so that to demonstrate font size equals to maybe 20 pixels, right? So let's see. So it will actually increase 20 pixels, and I can do a lot of things. So, but I want to create a function, on our button, right? I'm adding an event listener, so it's going to listen to when a user clicks or when I click. So when I click, I want it to change background color. So I can come here to say, create a function, const background color, or no, sorry, const change, yeah, change BG color, const change BG color. Then I can now create that function. So what do I want? So when the user clicks, I want to get tap, 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 tap. So when the user clicks, I want to get a hold of this. I won't be able to access BTN here. Let me see. Can I access BTN here? Okay, let's see. But I doubt. BTN dot style. So I want to change the background color. So style dot background color. So maybe I want to make it to be, it's currently red. I want to make it blue. So blue, then maybe I also want to maybe btn dot style. Maybe I want to also make the color to be equal to maybe white. when I click. Yeah, so let's see. Okay, so you can see. Let me reload. So the color automatic at the initial is red. So when I click, okay, sorry. When I click on it, the background becomes blue and the text color becomes white. So this is the demonstration. But if I just went straight to DOM JavaScript, you may not understand what is happening here, right? So with this, what have we shown on line 128? We've demonstrated a variable declaration and assignment. We've declared a variable btn and we've assigned this value to it. Then here we've just come to do dots. So immediately you see dots. You know, I had told you about objects, that you access objects using the dot notation. So that already tells you that from the data types that btn is an object, you know, for you to be able to use dots on it. So dot style. So when you say btn dot style is also an object again. So within btn dot style, you have a lot of things. You have dots, background color, you have a lot of methods, dot background color, you know, all the styles you have in CSS. Dot background color, dot font size, dot color, dots text transform, dots, in fact, all the CSS styles, dots padding. So here we can put in our padding. Okay, so let's do something. So within this function, right? So we can work on the padding, btn.style dot padding. So we can say padding should be maybe 20 pixels. That's when we click. Because remember, on line 139, I've added an event listener. So it's going to listen for a click event. There are a lot of events. I'm already going into them, but you can do mouse over dot mouse. So maybe you just want, when you put your mouse or cursor, mouse over, over. When you put your cursor, right? When you put your cursor on btn, what do you want it to do? You want it to change BG color. That's to change the background color. But now we've added some other things. Now we've added color, we've added padding. So maybe we can say, instead of change BG color, we can say change style. I think that would be better. Change style, because we are now adding other things into our function. So we come here to say change style, change style. Remember, I had said for every function, you must invoke it. So this is 133, where we created the function. On line 139, what are we doing? We are invoking it. But we don't just want to invoke it. You want to invoke it at a certain point where the user puts his mouse over the submit button. That's what we want to change. That's when we want to change the style. So let me see. So you can see. Let me reload. So the idea is that when you put your mouse over it, can you see? By putting your mouse over it, that function runs. The first one was click. So there's a click event, there's mouse over, there is keyboard input. There's just a whole lot of events in JavaScript, right? So at this point, I just wanted that when I put my mouse or when I put my cursor, it will run. So you can see. All right, so I think finally, let me just look for the third way of writing function and just drop for you. I don't know, maybe 3 ways of writing function in JavaScript. Okay, so let's just look at the 3. I've already written 2, function keyword. Let me see. What's this? Sorry. It's showing me that I need to create an account. I'm not interested in that for now. Let me see. Okay, 5 ways to write functions. Okay, so let's check. Okay, so let's see. Ah, what's this? Let me see, just go back. Okay. All right. So function, name of the function, param. Okay. So you can actually have, yeah, parameters. I actually skipped that. Yeah. So function, name of the function, you can have parameters as many as, right? Then let me see. Okay. So function this. Okay. So I demonstrated this function keyword name, then parameters. Okay. Then let me see what else. Okay, const function name equals to function. Yeah. This is what I was looking for. This is what I was looking for. Name of function. So let me go there. Yeah, this third method. Oh, sorry, function keyword. That's the third method. So when you say const play equals to function, yeah. Okay. So this is actually the third method. So you can see this anywhere so that you will not be confused. Anywhere you see, maybe you see that it starts with function keyword and name of function, this is a function. You see another one, it starts with const, maybe that's variable declaration equals to parenthesis, arrow function, curly brace. The third method is like onto it to say variable declaration, right? Plus what? Plus name of function, name of function plus what? Okay, an equal to sign. Let me put that equal to sign plus function name. Yeah, so function keyword, right? Function keyword. Then plus parenthesis plus curly brace. All right. So it was just stop here. Let me